needed to be the Cleveland Browns season. And now at 1-6, the quarterback with a ruptured Achilles and most likely never going to take a snap for this team again, even if he gets paid. There are a lot of questions. And a lot of them have to do with, is anybody safe? Your latest Locked On Browns starts now.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound, LGB, and the LLB, the Locked On Browns podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Jeff Lloyd. We appreciate all of you who make Locked On Browns your first listen every single day. Become an everyday or join the everyday crowd. Subscribe to the Locked On Browns YouTube channel. The show is always available. It is always free wherever you get your podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Not to the surprise of anybody, the news official today, ruptured Achilles for Deshaun Watson. Obviously, the season is over. Deshaun to have the surgery this week, apparently just crossing some T's, dotting some I's about the surgeon who he's going to use. But the time for Deshaun for 2024 is over. And you have to believe, he's going to get his money somehow, some way, but you have to believe that Deshaun Watson actually physically playing football for the Cleveland Browns is probably something that we're not going to see again. Look, a lot went into what was going to be this season, 2024. And, everybody kind of felt that, this would be the year. And, I certainly, as everybody who listens to this, all you everydayers know, I had high hopes for what was going to be this season and hopefully the success of, this franchise and finally winning that AFC North title, finally hosting a playoff game. But, here is, the actuality and the reality of it, of what this team is, come 2025, once this year officially ends for this team. You have a quarterback under contract coming back from an Achilles injury who you're probably going to find a way to pay to stay home. Starting running back, you don't necessarily have one. Nick Chubb is only under contract for this season. A lot of people have their mixed feelings on Jerome Ford. Amari Cooper has been moved on from, so that opens up a wide receiver spot. Jerry Jeudy, you have to think at the contract he's being paid will be a starting wide receiver. So that gives you 1 out of 3. You don't have a slot wide receiver under contract for the 2024 season. We don't know if Jamari Thrash is capable of that. We haven't yet to see the young man really play. You have a tight end in David Njoku. You think perhaps maybe you have a right tackle between Jack Conklin and hopefully DeJuan Jones, finds what, he was as a rookie. Right guard, Wyatt Teller could possibly not be here. Could be Zach Zinter. Center, Ethan Posick, maybe still here. Joel Bitonio, Joel's played a lot of football, a lot of miles on that body. You got to really question whether or not, if this team goes in the tank this year, that Joel Bitonio is going to come back out and play again. Zach Zinter would possibly be a spot for there. So right now you're looking at DeJuan Jones and possibly Zach Zinter on your offensive line. It's quite obvious Jedrick Wills will not be back. Quite obvious. 7 penalties in 4 games, 3 sacks given up. It's just not going well. So you need a quarterback, you need a running back, you need 2 wide receivers, and most likely you need 3/5 of your offensive line. Let's take it over to the defensive side of the ball. Myles Garrett, okay, confirmed it most likely as a starter. We'll get to Myles in segment 2. Defensive tackles, Dalvin Tomlinson, maybe. You can't say Mike Hall's a starter next year. Everybody else, their contracts could be up. So basically you have 1 defensive tackle, maybe 1.5. Their starting defensive end, Alex Wright, will be coming off an injury. Ogbo is not a starting defensive end. Isaiah McGuire has not shown yet to this point that he's a starting defensive end. Linebackers. This one's actually not too bad. JOK will be here. Mahmoud Diabate, pretty solid player. Jordan Hicks could certainly be back. So not so many questions there. Your secondary, Denzel Ward, sure, you're still fine there. Grant Delpit, you're still fine there. Juan Thornhill, I don't think any of us have seen enough of Juan Thornhill to this point to say yay or nay that, all of a sudden we believe he's going to be a part of this in year 3 or an effective part of it in year 3. Still certainly 10 games to go here. Your number 2 cornerback, Barton Emerson, has regressed. Your slot corner also plays outside. Greg Newsome certainly regressed. So on defense, you have a starter at defensive end, defensive tackle, linebackers, and you need a couple of corners and a safety. That's how far this team is right now from what everybody thought was going to be a killer unit here in 2024. So we sit here and we look at this team now at 1-6. And, certainly a lot went in yesterday. And look, I don't have a problem with Myles Garrett, Jameis Winston, and others sticking up for their teammate. But, it kind of felt a little bit like, you were trying to slip us, when you were sick, when you were a kid, your parents tried to slip you your medicine with a spoonful of sugar. Some of the things that was said by those gentlemen in regards to the teammate they were defending just wasn't right. And look, I don't want to have... It's not right that the fingers are being pointed at the fans. And I am sure for any of those who acted inappropriately yesterday, possibly maybe regret their actions. And again, like I said yesterday, fans don't get to go to the media and say, hey, you know what? I apologize for that, or I take it back. And they don't get that feel-good moment, to basically go say, hey, I'm sorry for what I did. You know what I'm saying? It was in the moment, da-da-da-da-da-da. The Browns fans were tired of seeing a player who was absolutely underperforming. And they got fed, again, a spoonful of sugar with their medicine from press conferences every week, basically saying that, hey, he gives us the best chance to win. Hey, it's a work in progress. We're working on it. This, that, and the other thing. This is the one thing I've always loved about covering the Cleveland Browns. And what I really love about this fan base is I think you guys are pretty solid football fan base. I think you guys know and have a great feel of kind of what's going on. And I think that is probably the juxt of what happened yesterday, is that everybody screamed for months and over weeks and months that they wanted this guy to be benched and wanted somebody else to have the ability to play, to at least show whether or not this team was better and could function better under a different signal caller. We're going to get our wish. But it wasn't because the Browns saw the right way. It was because the quarterback got injured and they have no choice but to play somebody else. So we'll see how it goes. But the Browns really needed this year to go their way. And it has gone absolutely 110% against the grain. Your latest Locked On Browns continues. I'm your host, Jeff Lloyd. We appreciate you all for being along for the ride. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed, when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking at the wrong place, and most likely you're not looking at all. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire. LinkedIn is constantly finding ways to make the process easier. They even just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making the process even easier and quicker. 2.5 small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That is linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Your latest Locked On Browns continues. I am your host, Jeff Lloyd. We appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen every single day. The everyday crowd. I suggest you join, subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. Don't miss any of the action. The show is always available. It is always free wherever you get your podcasts. Now, a popular one, and look, we get these, aggregator sites. And look, I do talk with a lot of these guys. I'm not talking about, the Dove Kleinmans, but a couple have put out there, mentioning, whether or not the Browns would put Myles Garrett on the market. It's not the craziest idea in the world, obviously. If you are looking, and I'm not going to say the rebuild word, I don't think the Browns necessarily need to rebuild. They need to get younger, obviously. They have all the ability in the world to have a good draft class in 2025. They have plenty of picks. I'm never worried about the cap. People can sing you whatever song they want about it. Browns just continue to roll it over and kick it down into further years as the cap continues to rise, all ways that they can make it all work. But trading Myles would obviously be your biggest return of investment if you were to trade somebody on the roster. Trades like this don't necessarily, and look, I am not entertaining this, but because so many people want it to be spoken about, I will speak about it. I am not moving Myles Garrett for anything whatsoever. So let's just make sure everybody understands that. A move like this does not get done in season or around the trade deadline. And there's a pretty couple of big factors as to why. First things first, the compensation you agree upon, whatever team he was going to, you automatically assume that team is going to get better and get better quickly. So say I traded for so-and-so's first round pick, and all of a sudden, that first round pick gets further and further on down the line, along with every other pick that I have agreed to on that deal, which is why it makes it difficult to trade Myles Garrett in season. I don't see the reason to move on from Myles Garrett. He is that good of a player. If this thing where he possibly needs surgery on maybe 1 foot or possibly even 2 feet at the end of the season is legitimate, which it certainly could be, maybe that's something where if I'm the Browns, hey, Myles, do you want to cut the year short and get this taken care of as quickly as possible, thus giving you the best, most optimal opportunity to be, in the best shape of your life for when training camp opens in 2025. Myles has been nothing but a pillar of success in this community. He has been a model citizen as a player in the city, as a teammate for the Cleveland Browns within the building. Do I agree with what he said yesterday? Not necessarily. But do I agree with why he did it? Yeah, there's a C on his chest. He's supposed to do things like that. That's what you expect of your captains. Myles Garrett is going to go to the Hall of Fame. He is one day going to go to Canton and be enshrined into the NFL Football Hall of Fame. Why would you move on from something like that? Other factors, all these guys, the Ravens. Raven fans really think he's going to go there? Stop. He's probably not going to the AFC. If he were to go, most likely place would probably be the NFC. Then you bring up, questions of would he like to go near his home, which first thing out of your mind and thought would be Dallas Cowboys. Don't know. But look, Myles has showed no interest in leaving. Myles has not stated that he wants to leave, has not demanded that he wants to leave. Myles has enjoyed all his time here. Myles has been a defensive player of the year, has been at times the greatest thing on a piss poor, sorry ass franchise. I mean, I can understand the overall premise. I do. But I just don't see how it is worth it for this team, because you're not just finding another Myles Garrett. You're not just drafting another Myles Garrett. You're also not drafting the person. Let's get away from the player. You're not drafting the person that Myles Garrett is. It's fun to do these things, and this is the problem with some of these aggregate accounts where they just put these things out there just looking for feedback, because now obviously people are getting paid by Twitter for the activity that their account draws, which I don't know. I don't know enough about it to fully answer, but this is why you're getting this. And you're getting these accounts that are, taking thoughts and most of the time taking information from others, pretending it to be their own, and driving up their own traffic to their account. I guess, I don't even know how lucrative it is, so I'm not even going to pretend to act like I do. But it just makes no sense. Yes, the return would be great. Certainly it would. But so would the loss. And as we said earlier in segment 1 here, you need 3/5 minimum, looks like, of an offensive line. You need a quarterback, you need a running back, you need 2 wide receivers, could need 2 corners, could need a free safety, could need half a defensive line. And that's not even counting role players and reserves. It all fell apart kind of quickly here. And once it's all kind of fallen apart and you kind of get under the hood of where the Cleveland Browns are right now, there's some issues. There certainly is. And for all the pomp and circumstance that I certainly had, going into the regular season, finally getting to see what this product is going to be. Now knowing that the Deshaun era is probably pretty much dead and buried, you need to know, where this franchise is going to be, how quickly it can be turned around. And you would start with, how quick can we get to be in a 500 ball club? How quick from 500, could that be a playoff team? It's, it's an unfortunate mess right now in Berea. And the way it's looked at from the outside in, for those that thought it was going to happen, I don't think you knew it was going to happen. I think you guessed it was going to happen, just like I guessed it was going to be good. I don't think any of us had enough information to make an educated decision on the Cleveland Browns 2024 season. But if it was a vehicle, it'd be missing a tire, smoking out the hood, sitting on the shoulder of a highway. It's been rough. Now that begs the question of, is anybody safe? Is everybody in trouble? We'll go a little further on that. Your latest Lockdown Browns continues. NBA season underway. College football around the corner. Everybody's still riding the high as everybody got even more deeper into basketball following a beautiful run from the WNBA. Well, now you can check out live basketball, be in the house for celebrities, light shows, kiss cam, all that good stuff. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands and thousands of tickets. Game Time, you can get your picks. Search for seat location, search for the game, search for a section, and they go and they dig away and they bring you up 2-3 possible scenarios that work for you. The best thing I like is you're seeing your final payment in your first picture. The best way to do that, make sure you do that, is by having the all-in pricing toggled on. Game Time Picks curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy theater, and more. The lowest price guarantee or Game Time will credit you 100% of the difference. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry, only offered by Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Jeff Lloyd, your latest Locked On Browns continues. I appreciate you all for making the show your first listen every day. The traffic yesterday was amazing on social media and certainly here. I want to thank you all for that. The everyday crowd, if you're not part of it right now, make a new plan, stand, subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. The show is always available. It is always free wherever you get your podcasts. Now, it certainly begs the question of, how deep does this go? You have a general manager and you have a head coach that you just recently extended. Nobody truly knows the lengths and the monetary value on the deals for Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski. But you certainly sit here now and, you have to be in the belief of nobody is safe. Andrew Berry with a team 1-6, he's responsible for building this roster. I'm not saying, Andrew's guaranteed his spot back. I'm also not saying that Andrew and his beautiful family are going to be putting for sale signs in their lawn anytime soon. But 1-6 with a roster that he put together, certainly going to be some questions. You can certainly look at Coach Kevin Stefanski and say, well, with a roster like this, his team sits at 1-6. Is the coaching the issue? Coaching's the issue, sure. General manager is the issue, sure. Everything's the issue. Everybody is guilty. Everybody has their hands in this. Ownership, of course. Just because you own the team doesn't mean, that you didn't have some wrongdoing here. Because there's certainly, some things that Jimmy Haslam, put his nose into or gave his yay or gave his nay on. So the hot seat, entire building is on hot seats. Maybe even the secretaries. I don't know how good they are at the job, but maybe even the poor secretaries. When you start off 1-6, and then yesterday, the last thing you want to do is get into a war with fans. It's something you never want to do ever. And it's certainly something you do not want to do as a 1-6 football team. These fans have come out and supported this team regardless. When they were somewhat good, when they were middle of the road, when they were piss poor, when they were terrible, the fans kept showing up. So it's not a wise move for any player to get into it with the fans. I understand the premise of it. I also understand that, when you were talking about the quarterback who got hurt yesterday, for a lot of people, they feel he does not fall under the same umbrella that every other player who has ever played for the Cleveland Browns does. And I get that side as well. But there's a lot of problems here right now. I read to you just how soft this roster looks compared to what we thought 7 weeks ago. Whole bunch of players are not performing up to their levels. And, how do you play out these final 10 games over 11 weeks? Do you just put your tail between your legs and run? Or do you step up and you fight like a man? For the most part, they really haven't gotten humiliated in these games. They've tried to battle. They've tried to fight. They've tried to do everything they can, which is what you're hoping. You only lost by 6 a week ago to Philly. You only lost by a touchdown yesterday. But that's going to certainly be a factor here as far as who can stand out over the next few weeks. Can a guy like Cedric Tillman take a day like yesterday and parlay it into something more? Brown's going to need some receivers to step up here over the next couple of weeks. It was great to get Nick Chubb back, but you need to see just how good or where Nick Chubb is at. I'm sure Nick would love to stay here and continue his career. I'm sure Nick Chubb would love to stay a Cleveland Brown till the day his career is over. But you got to make sure he can do the job, which I think Nick can, but you also have to see how much of the job Nick is capable of doing. And the other thing is, if you want the best of Nick Chubb, somewhere along the line, you have to take some of the workload from him. You're going to have to help, grab the shovel out of his hands and move these boulders yourself, so to speak. So it was a rough day yesterday. It's been a rough 7 weeks. This team just can't get the car out of park. Slight improvement is not enough improvement. This team needs major improvement. And hey, you got the Baltimore Ravens on Sunday. So there's that. Unbelievable. Don't know who the quarterback's going to be this Sunday. We know it won't be Deshaun Watson, who will be having surgery on his Achilles tendon, ending his 2024 season. Torian Thompson-Robinson, an issue with his finger. X-rays seem good. Still doing some imaging testing to see where that goes, which probably means that, Jameis Winston, for now, most likely he's going to be your starter on Sunday. Browns need another quarterback, minimum, because you technically only have one until we hear more on DTR. So, things are going great. Things are going swimmingly. Cleveland Browns needed 2024 to go their way. In no way whatsoever has it gone their way. And now we're faced with a lot of questions and a lot of discussions that I think nobody were expecting to happen. And they'll grow over the next 10 weeks. Hopefully some guys step up, or some guys are just going to have to step out. I am Jeff Lloyd, your host here at Locked On Browns. Again, as always, we appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen every single day. The everyday crowd is a bunch of filthy animals, but they're my filthy animals. I suggest you become a filthy animal as well. Come in every day or subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. The show is always available. It is always free wherever you get your podcasts. This has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. LGB on ELOB. Let's go Browns.